All right, guys. So we've been talking about the effects after World War One. Okay, we're going to move into talking about the Roaring Twenties. Okay, why do you guys think it would be called Roaring? There is a lot happening. Okay, and this is a very vibrant and very colorful time. Clothes are changing, people are changing, morals are changing, values are changing, manners are changing. Everything that people have known for the last, 50 to 100 years of the way that you're supposed to act is starting to change. Okay. One of the big things that we're going to start off with, okay, and this is kind of to finish up from yesterday and just kind of tie some loose ends. The first being with Marcus Garvey. Okay, Marcus Garvey, he was a advocator, a progressive era type person. Okay, so we're taking a little step back with him. What Marcus Garvey wanted to do was establish the Back to Africa movement, okay, especially during the war. And then after the war, he wanted to advocate for African Americans going back to Africa and just having some place where they could go, okay, to get out of America and kind of make their own culture and kind of get away from this discrimination. All right. He also establishes the Universal Negro Improvement Association, okay, the UNIA. This association is somewhat successful. However, Garvey ends up getting caught, I believe it's stealing money or something like that, and ends up getting arrested for embezzling, and the UNIA falls apart. However, what he did accomplish is going to kind of be a spark for the next couple movements following that for African Americans. Okay, specifically into the civil rights, it'll be very important. All right, we also talked a little bit about Calvin Coolidge yesterday when we got to our last slide. We started talking about the scandals of Warren G. Harding. Okay, despite all these scandals that took place and the fact that Calvin Coolidge was the president of the last year and a half of Harding's term, Coolidge is not going to be blamed for all the stuff that went on. Okay, he's not going to be blamed for the Teapot Dome scandal. He's not going to be blamed for the embezzlement of money by the other cabinet members. People are going to realize that he's a good candidate. Okay, he gets the nickname Silent Cal Coolidge. Okay, because he was very shy and he was very quiet. Okay, but he was also a big supporter of big businesses. Okay, he felt like big business was the way that our country would succeed, and that it would be able to progress and move on. However, he was also very less supportive of ordinary citizens. Okay, in one statement, I put this up here just to give you an idea. Coolidge rejected a plan to aid victims in Mississippi when the Mississippi River flooded, saying the government had no duty to protect citizens against the hazards of the elements. Okay, so that's pretty rough. Can you imagine if Katrina came through and Bush was like, "No, it's not the government's responsibility to help those people." Oh my goodness, it would have been yeah, there would have been a mass chaos in our country. Okay, but you can keep cool with Coolidge. Okay, they're still starting to get some of these cool presidential slogans during this time. Okay. Not really. We're gonna do movie activity, and then after that we'll probably finish with some activity. No, that's not what we're doing today. We will be time. All right. So one last thing that we're going to address, okay, before getting into the cultural side of the 20s, which is really the part that makes the Roaring 20s, is Herbert Hoover. Okay, Herbert Hoover will be elected in 1928. We will talk about him quite a bit more tomorrow. We start talking about some of the speakeasies, some of the different movements that were going on, like fundamental movements, some of those things. Okay, But one of the big things that Herbert Hoover was responsible for, that you guys already knew, was the Food Administration. Okay, just to reiterate that and put that up there. He was also responsible for doing that in Europe as well as America. Okay, so Herbert Hoover was well known for his policies as well as his sense of leadership. Okay, he served as a cabinet member for both Harding and Coolidge. Okay, so he's been in the White House. He's been, around the politics of the country and of the president. So he's going to be elected as the president pretty easily in 1928. Okay, he is a Republican, so we're keeping that string of Republican candidates or presidents that we've had. However, with all that said, during this time, the 1928 election revealed some holes in the Republican Party. Okay, not huge ones, okay, but that there are some problems. But the dramatic changes in morals and manners and fashion by the nation's youth is going to overshadow a lot of the holes that exist in the Republican Party because the nation is just changing completely. Okay? And if you look back, you guys think about some of the pictures I've shown you throughout our lesson from the 1850s up to the 1900s. Okay? Women dressed pretty, proper and they always wore dresses down to their ankles. You never showed off any arm. Most you could show off be your face and your hands. Okay? Very, very religious Christian-like, what we consider Christian-like attitude in that day where, you're supposed to be, can't think of the word, pious. Okay, you're supposed to be pious, supposed to be religious. Okay, that's how ladies were portrayed. Men, we've pretty much been acting the same for the last 60 or 70 years at this period. Okay, that a lot of men are having alcohol problems, which is why the temperance movement's big. Okay, we've got prohibition now, but men are still trying to drink. However, men are also going to begin developing other habits, such as working with cars and things like that. Okay, and that's the things that we're going to continue talking about through the next couple slides. All right, how many of you guys have heard the song? It's in a movie. Some of you that were in here earlier heard it, where it sounds like a really deep voice, and he's singing "The Wonderful World." Y'all ever heard that? Okay. If you've ever watched any movie ever, you've probably heard it. Okay. That is Louis Armstrong. Okay. Guys, the Jazz ages. This is it. Okay. If there was ever a period that jazz was large and in charge, it is during the 20s. Okay, and it's going to be big at other times. Okay, it's big all the way up into the 50s. However, this is kind of its golden age or its beginning, and it's where it really boomed with people. Okay, it had a large effect on the tastes and manners of the age. Okay, where's this jazz music originating a lot from?
The South.
Some, but a lot of it's originating in Harlem. Okay, you're going to get some Dixieland and some stuff like that from the South. Okay, you'll get some other types of music that'll come out, but the jazz particularly is going to come a lot out of the African American community. Okay, it's going to come out of the Harlem Renaissance that we talked about yesterday. Okay, it was an exciting rhythm. Okay, so if you've listened to this real slow and proper hymn music, okay, what we would consider really boring, okay, and that's the only music you've ever heard, or like orchestras playing, that's all you've ever gotten to hear. When you put a trumpet and a piano and maybe a guitar, some of those things, okay, saxophone, you put some of those things into some music, and then you start playing a little faster, and getting some